PJA. Adonde will join us in a bit. Well, PJ, you look at the Clippers. They get off to that great start. Best in franchise history. Blake Griffin then goes down. Chris Paul out with an injury. Greg Popovich told us before the game that Paul is the guy that they're concerned about the most, but he's back.
There's no question, Dave. He drives this team. Chris Paul is, to me, the best point guard in the league at controlling pace. And both Doc Rivers and Pop talked about that. He knows when to push it. He knows when to slow it down. Last 2 years, they win 70% of the time when he plays. When he doesn't play, it drops to 35%. That's how important Chris Paul is.
You were telling me before the game you thought he should have been an All-Star.
Without question, should have been his 9th All-Star selection. Disappointed the coaches didn't pick him and then replace him with the non-injured player.
Kawhi Leonard, a starter in the All-Star game, and boy, he just keeps getting better. We were out here 2 hours before tip-off, and so was he working out.
Well, that's why he's improved so much. You're talking a Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time, a first-time All-NBA player, and he continues to get better. He's posting career numbers across the board. He's the real deal. He's an MVP candidate.
30 points per game, his last 16 going into the All-Star break. Our starting lineups are brought to you by Taco Bell. Spurs have won 2 straight, 7 of their last 9. They'll go with Parker, Green, Leonard, Aldridge, and Dwayne Dedmon. But Pau Gasol is back. He will not start, but will play. Missed the last 15 games with a broken hand. That's the starting 5 the Clippers were hoping to have all season long. Doc Rivers said to you and I before the game, 35-22. Despite all the injuries, he'll take that. He says it's been a great year for the Clippers.
I couldn't agree with them more. They've done a great job staying above water. And this starting lineup is the 2nd most efficient lineup in the league, behind only the Golden State starting lineup.
Clippers played at Golden State last night, gave up 50 in the 3rd quarter, and lost to the Warriors for the 10th straight time. Welcome back. Chris Paul with a jumper to start the game.
Obviously, you see the rust right there. He's not ready to play.
He wanted to play yesterday, and they thought he actually wouldn't play till Sunday, but he's been hounding the training staff, and he's good to go. Shot clock at 5 here for San Antonio. Contact and an offensive foul as Blake Griffin draws the charge on Kawhi Leonard.
Both of these teams are very good defensively in the half court, and I think both coaches want the teams to play at that pace we talked about. They need to get up and attack before the defenses get set up, because they're both way above average in half court defense.
There's Paul against Kawhi Leonard, reigning Defensive Player of the Year in the NBA. Won that award the last 2 years. Now they get the switch at Dedmon on Paul. That leaves Griffin open. And Dedmon, who's really played well. A guy who didn't play basketball until he was 18. Played his college ball here in LA at SC.
Took advantage of the opportunity to Pau Gasol injury.
Aldridge no good. There's Dedmon with the offensive rebound, but stripped by the NBA leader in steals, Chris Paul. Paul not on the same page that time in the roll with Jordan. Here's Green in transition, and it's always tough when you got that shot blocker DeAndre Jordan around the rim. Sloppy start for both teams.
CP with the rare turnover. His assist turnover ratio year in and year out, top of the league.
Mute, an excellent defender. Got his hands full tonight though with Leonard. As Kawhi just flips it up and gets it to drop. You saw his strength. He had 3 guys around him, and he keeps his dribble.
That's called looking for a foul. The basket went in.
He's averaging on the season 26 points per game. The first Spur since Tim Duncan 15 years ago to have that total. Again, Dedmon on Paul. Jordan stripped by Aldridge. Now Griffin picks up Leonard. Tony Parker, an open look, and he hits the 2.
That's the way both teams want to play. They want to get it up the floor, get a shot off before the defenses could get anchored in. There's some excellent defenders. You mentioned Mute and Kawhi going at it. CP is one of the best defensive guards in the league also.
Now J.J. Redick went down with Chris Paul out of the lineup. Normally Redick really goes to work in the first quarter. He's one of the top first quarter scorers in the league. And there's Paul finding him. Off target on the 3-point try. With Paul out, he shot just right at 40% from the floor overall. He was around 50 with Paul in the lineup. Parker at age 34 in his 16th NBA season. Good hands by Jordan. Aldridge cuts off the baseline. That one off the foot of Paul. Second turnover by CP3.
Well, we talked about Kawhi Leonard. Ba Mute's all over him, so he goes into the lane. He thought he was fouled, so he just threw it up, looking to get 2 free throws instead of the ball out of bounds on the side. He didn't get the call, but he got the field goal.
Well, it was interesting. Pop was telling us before the game that he's become so strong that he takes and absorbs a lot of contact, kind of like LeBron James does it. Even though he's been to the foul line this year more than he did all of last year, but he still doesn't get all the calls you would think.
Well, used to say that about Shaq. Shaq would be crying, and rightfully so, because you wail on him, he doesn't even react to it, so it doesn't look like a foul. LeBron gets hit a lot, same thing. Pop now made the point. I had not thought about that about Kawhi, but it's true. The fact that James Harden's very good at that also, but he gets the call. He accepts the contact, but he's so strong he can still finish the shot, so it doesn't look like there was as much contact there.
Pop said he didn't have to tell him anything. He said that Leonard just watches tape constantly, and he saw James Harden doing that, and Kevin Durant with that rip-through move, getting better at drawing fouls. Griffin can't finish inside.
Pop also gave a lot of credit for Kawhi's development to Chad Forcier, who's now an assistant in Orlando, and Chip England, who's still with the Spurs and has had such an impact on so many of the Spurs.
Aldridge fouled by Ba Mute. Well, look, you were on that Spurs staff for 5 years, won 3 championships as an assistant to Pop. What is it about them that they seem to find guys? I mean, Kawhi Leonard was the 15th pick in the draft, and they loved George Hill, who they traded to get Leonard out of San Diego State. How do they know?
That's how strongly they felt about Kawhi, but Pop will be the first to tell you, and R.C. Buford. The reason it happens, R.C. Buford and his staff do an incredible job. But they'll be the first to tell you, they knew he was going to be special. I don't think they knew, particularly, look at that move right there. They didn't anticipate that.
Great ball fake by Paul. Rick the 3, though.
They knew he was a special player. They knew he had a great work ethic. I don't think they ever dreamed he'd be a 25-point scorer, MVP candidate. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, yeah. No surprise. Improvement, yes, no surprise. But not to where he is now. He's one of the best 5 players in the NBA.
And it's not just him. It's this guy with the ball, Tony Parker, late first-round pick. Manu Ginobili, one of the best second-round picks in NBA history, right? As LaMarcus Aldridge hits a 3. That's his 17th 3. He didn't hit any last year.
They're just, again, they improved. The work ethic is such, but Pop would say the first 3 reasons are David Robinson, Tim Duncan, and then you can add, it's a combo. Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, another really sloppy start for the Clippers. 5 minutes without a point. They missed 8 straight shots as Leonard draws the foul, and that's 2 on Ba Mute. See, again, Kawhi Leonard has so much diversity to the game. That's Chris Paul, one of the best defensive point guards playing him. Goes in all the way with the finish. He's got those enormous John Stockton hands. I mean, he just has it in one big claw, and he can just move you out with that left forearm when he's shooting the ball. And he's shooting 90% at the line. He was threatening, Dave. He was threatening 50, 40, 90 for a while. He's just a little bit under 50. He's at 40 now from 3. But, I mean, he's incredible. And the 90% from the free throw line, you couple that with the fact that he's shooting so many more free throws because Pop's posting them up more, and he's become more aggressive. That's part of the problem. Pop won't say it. They had to really get on him to be more selfish, to be more assertive. Redick from the corner, knocks down the 3, and that ends an 11-0 Spurs run. Pop didn't like that. That's that baseline drive, baseline drift. He looks for Redick.
Return to the lineup gives the Clippers their entire team intact for the first time since December 18th. Now the question is, how much longer will we see this group together? These next 2 to 3 months will go a long way toward determining that. Remember, Paul, Blake Griffin, and J.J. Redick can all become free agents at the end of this season. And one of the reasons the team did not make any moves at the free agency or the trade deadline was they want to see what this group can do together when healthy. They believe in them, but as J.J. Redick told me last night, The playoffs will go a long way toward determining what happens. There has to be desire on both sides in this profession. And if this group can finally get it done, maybe we'll see them together. If not, it could be time to make a change. Go back to Dave Pasch and PJ Carlesimo.
Jay, I hate to say it, but it's true. The regular season doesn't mean anything. All that matters is April, May, and June.
And Doc said, look, we get 25 games or so as a healthy group to go into the playoffs. We were not healthy going in last year. Obviously, Paul and Griffin both go out in the first round, and they lose to Portland. Doc also said, look, we were not close at all to making a move, even a small move at the deadline. So it was never a question, despite the rumors in terms of the big three. Although you could call it the big four with J.J. Redick, who will be a free agent. Paul and Griffin could also become free agents. And they have, some bench players like Spades and Raymond Felton, who they're counting on this year. They're up too. Aldridge picked up the foul there. But as you look at the Clippers, look, they didn't make a move, but this group, PJ, and Golden State clearly is the best team in the West. And then you have this team they're playing tonight. Now, they played well against the Spurs in the regular season and beat them in the playoffs 2 years ago. But this San Antonio team is better than the team from 2 years ago as Griffin knocks it down.
Yeah, but it's about matchups. This team, it's a favorable matchup for the Clippers. They're big and strong inside, so they can combat the San Antonio front line. And they can play at that quick pace that's a problem sometimes for San Antonio. So it's been a very difficult matchup. They've won both of them this year. They've won 3 in a row here in this building. They've won 5 of the last 7. So Clippers have been a nightmare matchup, and that's not even talking about eliminating them in the playoffs a couple of years back.
Austin Rivers checks in. Rivers played very well without Paul. The Clippers, the only team to beat the Spurs twice, including a win in San Antonio by 24. And Blake Griffin did not play in one of those 2 games.
No, but one game had no Tony Parker, no Danny Green. But again, they've averaged 111 points in the 2 games against the Spurs. 111 against arguably the best defense in the league.
Pau Gasol checking in, his first action in over a month. Broke his hand in warm-ups as he tries to defend Blake Griffin, but Griffin able to get the basket.
That's been a tough matchup for them, not just against Powell, but they've had trouble controlling Blake Griffin.
Gasol broke his hand prior to a game in Denver on January 19th and has missed the last 15 games. Patty Mills no good on the 3. Redick controls.
Yeah, freaky accident. He and Kyle Anderson got tangled up in pregame warmups.
That hand got caught in a jersey. Here's Griffin from outside. Jordan over Patty Mills, who looked like he was just trying to get out of the way and not get killed. It's a rare miss right at the rim for DeAndre Jordan, who's on a record pace for field goal percentage. Gasol, who won 2 championships in LA with the Lakers.
You would expect to see a little bit of rust with Pau Gasol and Chris Paul back, for their first time. I don't care how good you are. And those 2 are as good as anybody in the league. When you take that much time off, it's very difficult.
Blake Griffin with 4 points early on for the Clippers, but they're down 2 at home to the Spurs. It's their last 5 shots, but they still have a 2-point lead on the Clippers. San Antonio playing its first game post All-Star break. They come in 30 games above 500. They're in the middle of their rodeo trip. It'll end Sunday against the Lakers. J.J. Redick misfires. Pau Gasol with a rebound. Here's Manu Ginobili for 3. Ginobili during the timeout was running the huddle while the coaches were having their conference. He was talking to the rest of the team.
Been there about 15 or 20 years. He knows what Pop's going to say before he even gets into the huddle.
Ginobili, 39 years old. Griffin with the save. Raymond Felton out there at point guard. Now Chris Paul getting a breather. Good defense by Ginobili on the intercept.
Same play on both ends of the floor. Weak side help.
Aldridge. And a good hard foul by Austin Rivers. So here's what we're talking about during the timeout. You coached with the Spurs for a handful of years, won championships. The guys do this often?
No, I wouldn't say they do it often, but a guy like Tim Duncan, who was there for obviously the longest time, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, they're certainly entitled to do it. He obviously saw something that he wanted, the point he wanted to make. But again, Pop uses the term corporate knowledge. he's got a mix right now. They got more young players than they've ever had. They got more first, second, and third-year players than he's ever had on the roster. But the guys at the top have been there forever. And Manu has that corporate knowledge that Pop talks about, and he's going to share it. And he's, his basketball IQ is off the charts. So if he's got something to say, they're going to listen. I forget what that commercial was years ago. Like when somebody said something and everybody would whisper and listen. When Manu talks, they're going to listen. 6 points for Kawhi Leonard, by the way, on the bench. You also saw him get up as soon as it's like he knew. You could see in the back of his head that Pop was done, and he was coming over to sit back in his chair. He scooted quickly. Austin Rivers with the bank shot. Rivers is having his best NBA season, 5th year out of Duke. Yeah, we talked about how much Kawhi has improved. Austin Rivers has really taken his game to another level, and again, took advantage of the opportunity when CP was hurt, and he's played very, very well. Ben Simmons, who is an incredible athlete. First field goal for the Spurs in almost 5 minutes. Jonathan Simmons is a tough player. He's improved also. Brought the offense to it. He was a defender, but he's doing a lot more. Yeah, I said Ben Simmons. He plays for the Sixers, or at least we thought he was going to play for the Sixers. Exactly. He's not playing this year. Jonathan Simmons, 2nd year out of Houston. That's too bad. Keep in mind, though, Blake Griffin, remember, missed his entire rookie season with a knee injury, won Rookie of the Year in his 2nd season. So perhaps it works out to be a smart move not to play Ben Simmons if he's not 100%. Without question, I'm sure that came from the doctors, but Joel Embiid missed 2 years, and since he's been back, other than the injury, he's been incredible. Inside 2 minutes to go. Gasol for 3. Well, he told us before the game he was just starting to figure out how the Spurs do things until before he got that injury. Well, you saw the shot there, but that's different. Standing still, shooting a shot, there's no rust there. He fumbled the pass on the previous possession. LaMarcus Aldridge gave him a great pass, and he fumbled that. He's not quite up to game speed. Alley-oop, they could not connect, but Jonathan Simmons commits a foul. Gasol now has 21 threes on the season. His career high is 24. Tomorrow night, our ABC Saturday night game is Chicago and Cleveland. Sunday, a triple header on NBA TV. Suns at the Bucks, OKC, and the new look Pelicans. Charlotte at the Clippers. TNT Monday, Cleveland, Milwaukee, and the Pacers are in Houston. LaMarcus Aldridge actually got the foul, his 2nd. And the shot clock at 9 for the Clippers. Here's Rivers, blocked by Gasol. And Mills on the pull-up. Short, batted out by Powell. Nice play on both ends. Powell, first the block and then the heady play. Knocks it out. And that pass errant. Gasol tried to save it. And now it'll be a backcourt violation. Or wait, that was deflected by Felton. Well, one official is saying Brian Forte's not sure. See, they're going to talk about this. Brian Forte is not sure that the Clippers didn't touch the ball there before it went back. Might have gotten knocked back. And it is a backcourt violation. Yep. Not touched by the Clippers there. Pop's asking Brian right now. How about 7 turnovers by the Spurs, yet they lead by 7. Both of these teams, this is the number 8 and number 9 team in the league in fewest turnovers. Both of these teams normally take very good care of the ball. Felton misses, and the Clippers don't have a point off of those 7 turnovers in this first quarter. Exactly. Ginobili to the corner. Oh, Gasol's going to, I thought he was going to take it. Ginobili's 3, not there. Lee almost tipped it in. Spurs are very happy with the way David Lee has played for them this year. David Lee was another great R.C. Buford pickup. Spades no. Brandon Bass. Can't put it back. Another miss, and then finally Bass with a tip-in. But there's 2 good Clipper pickups. Give Doc Rivers and Lawrence Frank the credit. Mo Spates and Brandon Bass going to help this team, particularly later on in the year. They had a foul to give there as Mo Spates grabs a spur. Well, it's as difficult a back-to-back as you could have, even if it's in the middle of the season. But coming out of the All-Star break, to have to go to Golden State, then come home and to play San Antonio. And the Clippers are struggling offensively here in the first. 5 seconds left. Here's Mills around the Gasol screen. Picked up by Felton.
And Spates did not release it in time. And San Antonio leads by 5. It's the second lowest scoring quarter this season for the Clippers. Leonard, the leading scorer, with 6 points for San Antonio.
Welcome back to Los Angeles, where despite 8 turnovers, the Spurs have emerged with the lead. How are you able to overcome those turnovers?
Only 8?
Only 8.
So that's 32 for the game. That's just great. That's just great. What do you do?
Do you attribute that to...
I'll run some drills during the timeout. I'll ask them not to turn it over. What the hell? Come on.
Do you attribute that to the first game since February 15th for you guys?
Yeah, defense looks pretty decent, but offensively it's like grade school. Crazy.
Thanks, Pop. Work on the turnovers in the timeout.
Okay, I'll do it right now.
Let's go. Go back to Dave and PJ.
4 days in LA and a week off will make anybody smile. I mean, Pop jubilant there with JA as Brandon Bass puts it in.
I'll tell you what, he's happy. They've got 8 turnovers, and the Clippers have no points off the 8 turnovers. If they had the 10 or 12, you would expect he wouldn't be smiling quite as much.
Although it doesn't hurt that you're in LA for 4 days and you've had a week off. Didn't have to coach in the All-Star game.
Play again Sunday against the Lakers as Patty Mills fills it up from downtown, and then back home for Indiana on Wednesday. So they have this is a nice end to the rodeo road trip.
First points for Patty Mills in his 100th 3 on the season. He is 4th in the league in 3-point shooting. Now in his 6th season with the Spurs. He was another guy, late pick, 2nd round, 55th overall by the Blazers. Ginobili takes it away from Spates, and here is Simmons. What an athlete.
You're talking about steals. There's the all-time leader for San Antonio. Manu Ginobili is such a heady player. You turn your back on him. Sometimes he gambles too much, but he comes up with a lot of steals.
And it's an 8-point lead for San Antonio. Jamal Crawford, beautiful move and pass. And then Bass is fouled by David Lee.
Well, you always tell big guys, don't put the ball on the floor. This is why not. Spates tries to. He had Patty Mills. He had the mismatch, but Manu saw it, came over and stole it. And Manu's closing in on 40. The young legs will run the floor. You get the dunk. Manu gets the steal and the assist.
Turned 40 this spring. Simmons is 27. And Brandon Bass at the line, shooting 2 for Los Angeles in his 12th NBA season out of LSU. Watch NBA games on Tuesday nights live in virtual reality on NBA League Pass within the Next VR app. VR highlights and replays are also available post-game on Next VR, the official League Pass VR partner of the NBA. For more, go to nba.com/VR.
Brandon Bass is an excellent free thrower. It's a strength. Oh, thank you. I jinxed him. They have 3 of the best in the league shooting free throws, and they're one of the. They shoot 24th, but that's mainly because of DeAndre.
That's because of one guy, yeah. Bass is at 90%. You got Crawford, who's in the high 80s, along with
CP and J.J. Redick.
Spates as well is up there.
Yep. Beautiful give and go. Dwayne Dedmon, he's doing things that nobody ever envisioned on the offensive end of the floor.
He was with Orlando the last 2 years. Dedmon.
Give James Borrego, Spur assistant, credit for that. He was the interim coach. Heck of a move. We talked about Austin Rivers improvement, but James Borrego sitting 2 to Pop's left over there. When he was the interim coach at Orlando, he put Dwayne Dedmon in the starting lineup and liked what he saw. You have to believe when he came here, JB there with Ejire Messina, you have to believe he spoke to Pop and RC, and there they go. Go out and get him, and look what he's doing for the Spurs.
I mean, the rotation as Rivers is at the line following the foul by Danny Green. And you got Dedmon starting. Gasol eventually will be back in the starting lineup, but you got Davis Bertans, a rookie coming off the bench. He was in the trade that brought Kawhi Leonard here with Indiana. And he's a rookie, technically, although he's been playing overseas in Latvia.
He's an excellent player, Dave. People don't even talk about him being the other guy in that trade. He's going to be a big-time player for the Spurs.
Shot clock at 3 for San Antonio. Parker has to let it fly. Bass got a piece of it. And it's a 24-second violation.
Tough to score against either of these teams in the half court. There's Davis Bertans sitting next to Pau Gasol. It's another guy who has some knowledge to share. You know, it's interesting. You got Pau Gasol, leading scorer in the NBA history from Spain. Tony Parker, leading scorer from France. And Manu Ginobili, leading scorer from Argentina.
Pretty impressive.
They use their international connections.
Shot clock at 8 here. Rivers puts it on the deck, drives again, can't finish, and Dedmon with the rebound. Spurs running the floor. Here's Parker. Boarded by Spates. Baseballs it ahead to Rivers for the slam.
Always happens when a guard goes to the basket and doesn't finish. It usually ends up in a fast break bucket the other way because there's no balance. TP's on the baseline. There's nobody back. Austin Rivers with the finish.
Teams at home.
It's the definition of roadkill. It's hard to have a winning season, one of them, to go 21-20 on the road. They've done it 20 straight times. It's absurd what they do when they wear these black uniforms.
Overall, 20 straight winning seasons, 17 straight 50-win seasons, and they might get 60 plus this year as Dedmon could not slam home the follow-up.
It was too high up in the air.
After tonight, 16 of their final 25 games will be at home.
Both these teams with very favorable home-away schedules the rest of the way. They're both top-heavy with 31 and 30 road games played already. So that speaks very favorably to both Clippers and Spurs the remainder of the season.
Here's Crawford with a two-pointer. Bass with the offensive rebound. Blocked. Out of bounds, it will stay with the Clippers. LA, 15 of its final 24 games will be against under 500 teams.
Their schedule, particularly in February, they had that stretch of 10 out of 11 games on the road. 11 games, 10 of them on the road, and they've survived it. And a good chunk of that was without one or both of their supers.
And they're 19-7 with both Griffin and Paul. Finally healthy. Paul missing over a month, 14 games. Griffin had missed 18 games, and then Chris Paul also missed a 7-game stretch with a hamstring injury. Great defensive play there against Spates, where it looked like he was going to have a sure basket. Here's Dedmon on the attack. Out to Simmons. We're in the low mid-20s here, midway through the second quarter with two pretty good offensive teams. 9 turnovers by San Antonio. There's Spates with a 3, getting the Clippers within 1.
Well, finally, we have the first San Antonio and the 4th best percentage three-point shooting teams in the league here tonight. You wouldn't know it so far, particularly the Clippers.
First points for Spates. A turnover by San Antonio. That's 10. Pop said they're on pace for 32.
He's only half kidding.
Chris Paul and Kawhi Leonard both back in.
Brandon Bass, very productive minutes for Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
He's going to help. Brandon Bass knows how to play. He works hard. He's a good baseline jump shooter. You mentioned what a good free thrower he is. Again, people have a tendency to... Doc made a great point last night talking to him up in Oakland. They played a chunk without Blake Griffin. Then they played a chunk without both of them. Then they played a chunk without CP. I mean, it was 3 different challenges. Now to finally have them back, it's going to take a while to get it together.
Crawford leans into a 3. It spins out. Crawford 0 for 3 from the floor, the reigning 6th man of the year, the only player to win it 3 times, and the oldest winner last year at age 35.
My neighbor from Seattle, he does such a great job for the youth in Seattle. Very active in the community.
Aldridge knocks it down. How many times we've seen him make that one from the left wing?
Pop said it was a struggle all last year. He kept telling him, when you get the ball and you're open, shoot it.
Rivers swishes through with 3-pointer. He's shooting better than 40% from out there this year.
Didn't have to tell his son. Austin always had that attitude. He's open, he's going to shoot it.
Leading scorer tonight for the Clippers with 10. No players yet in double figures for San Antonio. And the last 18 Clipper points have come from the bench, and that's why they're tied right now.
Austin Rivers, again, so aggressive. And again, the versatility is what's important. He can play 1 or 2. That's really ideal. Raymond Felton's done a good job. He also played some point with CP being out. But I think Austin will be the 3rd guard in that rotation. When he's in with JJ, he can handle the ball. When he's in with CP, he'll shoot the ball.
There'll be times where they'll play Paul, Felton, and Rivers together. Kawhi Leonard almost got it to drop. And now Griffin running the point. Rivers from the other side. Back-to-back. Triples for Austin Rivers. Clippers in front. He's got 11 here in the quarter, 13 in the first half.
They're so much better in transition, both teams against each other.
Foul here. Rivers was trying to go around the screen and picked up his second personal.
Pace is important. Both coaches want to run. Doc loves it when they run. He don't mind when it's his son knocking down back-to-back threes.
Performance in your lane, choose Goodyear tires. Goodyear, more driven. Clippers head coach Doc Rivers wired for sound tonight.
Hey, we got to get movement on offense. This is an attack night. I said downhill attack, not sideways. Downhill attack. All right.
Well, that was a couple of huddles ago, and they have responded. They already have more points in the second quarter, 17, than they had the entire first quarter, 13.
And they got a good chunk of them in transition. That's a tough shot there by Kawhi. Well defended.
But a loose ball foul on the Clippers on Spates, his second. Now the Clippers have hit 3 threes, 2 in a row by Austin Rivers here in the second quarter.
Yeah, they started 1 for 8 and they've heated up. But again, when he's saying downhill, he wants him to run, and that's what it's yielded. Some good threes in transition. 2 for Austin Rivers, 1 for Mo Spates.
Leonard is now 2 of 6 from the field. Chris Paul to Rivers. Austin Rivers with 13 points, 11 here in the quarter. Gets to the rim again. He's beat Danny Green on the drive several times here in this first half.
Kawhi didn't help. There was no help from the weak side that time. Surprisingly, it was Kawhi Leonard who didn't come over. Drove from outside the three-point line and got a layup. That shouldn't happen.
Austin Rivers, one of the most improved players in the league this year. 16-2 run by the Clips. It ends on a Parker jumper. His second basket.
Not surprisingly, Tony Parker is clearly deferring to Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge and his Spurs teammates as his career's winding down, but he still has it right there. He knows when they need a bucket, and he's able to do that.
His minutes are down. This year career low in minutes for Tony Parker at age 34. Danny Green just picked up his second foul, 3rd on the Spurs.
Pop can't talk enough, though, about the leadership that Tony's providing and the fact, again, there's been a tradition in San Antonio. David Robinson intentionally deferred to Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan intentionally took a step back for Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. Now Manu and Tony are doing that for Kawhi and LaMarcus Aldridge. That's a great tradition.
And who's going to be the heir apparent at the point guard position for San Antonio? They drafted DeJounte Murray as Paul buries a 3 with 2 on the shot clock. That's 3 straight threes for Los Angeles.
Well, if they're not able to re-sign Patty Mills, and that's going to be a challenge, DeJounte Murray has looked awfully impressive when he's gotten the opportunity to play this year.
He was picked 29th out of Washington. Here's Green for 3. Able to answer for San Antonio. And then Paul streaking down the court, but Kawhi Leonard's big hands there. He broke up the pass.
Yeah, I don't know if he gets the steal, but he made the play the defensive back did.
Now Parker for 3. That's 5 straight for Tony Parker. We're tied at 35. Back-to-back Spurs threes.
Don't sleep on the veteran Frenchman.
Coaches right now in the NBA, Doc Rivers and Greg Popovich.
But here's part of why. You see him talking to Chris Paul, his point guard, and he's listening. Who's doing the talking? CP's doing the talking. Now you see Tony Parker come over, and there's Pop. Pop's lips aren't moving. He's listening to his point guard. These two are 2 of the best communicating coaches in the league. They listen. They value the input. That's why Pop is number 7 in NBA history in wins. Doc Rivers number 15. Look at those numbers.
Pop in his 21st season, longest tenured coach in the 4 major professional sports. And Doc now in his 4th season with Los Angeles. Won 53 games last year. Offensive foul here.
Boy, I was just going to say, good execution out of the timeout. They got exactly what they wanted, but it's been a point of emphasis, Dave, for years, and frankly, I love it. The sloppiness of the screens. If you don't stand still when you set a screen, if you move your hip a little bit to try and catch that guy, and the referees have really made an emphasis on calling that foul.
And that's the first on DeAndre Jordan, who, by the way, has not scored tonight and only has 1 rebound. Here's Gasol, back from injury, his first game in over a month. as Tony Parker had the hot hand prior to that miss. Aldridge there gets the putback.
I don't think TP wants to have a Spaniard get an assist to him, so he kind of misses the shot. Let's LA get the rebound.
9 points, 5 boards for Aldridge. His 11th NBA season, second with the Spurs. J.A. asked him, Greg Popovich, a question before the game saying, why are LaMarcus' numbers down a little bit this year? And Pop answered quickly and said,
2 words.
Yeah, Kawhi Leonard. Said it's Leonard's team. The other thing that was interesting about Leonard, as a foul here is called on the Clippers, he said he's the first one-on-one player we've had since Sean Elliott, and the best one-on-one player he's coached in 20 years.
Well, so much of what they do comes from the movement and the ball passing and the inside. For years they played inside out with David and Tim. Then they played pick and roll with Tony. Manu, I think Manu was very creative. Manu would go one-on-one. But they really haven't had a player, he said, since Sean Elliott, that they would go give the ball to and let him go get it one-on-one. That's what he's not doing it tonight, but that's what Kawhi Leonard is very adept at.
Correction, the foul was on San Antonio. 3rd on Danny Green. And the 14th foul on the Spurs here in the quarter. Paul lobs to Griffin. Found the mismatch. It was Ginobili trying to cover Blake Griffin on the block.
Yeah, they got confusion there with the rotation from the help side. Clippers took advantage of it.
Now Griffin defending Aldridge. Missing on the turnaround jumper. Chris Paul looking to run. Paul missing over a month with a thumb injury. Throws it out to Griffin. Just 5 points for Chris Paul so far, 3 assists in the game. I don't know if that was intended for Redick or Bamute.
It definitely was not intended for Luke.
Leonard knocks it down and a foul on Blake Griffin. 3-point chance for Kawhi Leonard. First foul on Blake Griffin.
Kawhi Leonard has games like this where he's just kind of around. He lulls you to sleep. He's missing shots. He's not doing much. All of a sudden, he gets in the rhythm. And again, it's the versatility he has. He can shoot it off the dribble. He can run pick and rolls. He can come off picks. They can throw the ball ahead to him. He makes 3-point shots. You talked about how strong he was, and he can finish inside. I'm not bragging on his free throw shooting anymore, Dave.
That's twice now. You had Brandon Bass in the first
90%, 899 coming into the game.
Leonard is from Southern California. Grew up in Riverside. Went to San Diego State. Paul out to Griffin. And Blake Griffin can't connect. Griffin had a rough night in Oakland. Last night was 3 of 13 against Golden State. He is 3 of 8 tonight.
Finishing that thought on Kawhi, he played for Steve Fisher, excellent coach at San Diego State. Didn't like that one result against Steve Fisher, though, in the championship game. But other than that, I like him a lot.
He was at Michigan. Now the defensive 3-second call, so it'll be a free throw for Kawhi Leonard. NBA Saturday primetime at ABC. Cleveland and Chicago. NBA Countdown tips things off at 8. The Cavs with the best record in the East, 40-16. And will they have Darren Williams on their roster?
Rumors, we'll see who's there.
And is that the player that LeBron is looking for as a backup point guard? Now, he's been in and out of the lineup with injury, Darren Williams, and there's been talk that Utah wants him back. He still has a home in Salt Lake City.
Well, he played well for us, played well for the Nets, but for 2 years for Avery Johnson and when we moved to Brooklyn. But he's never played as well as he played in Utah. He was incredible in Utah.
At that time, you can make the argument he was playing better than Chris Paul when he was in Utah.
No, he was, in those days, when you talked about the point guard position's been so good for so long. But when you talked about the best 2 or 3 point guards in the league, Darren Williams was always the one who led the conversation. No question about that. And it wasn't that he didn't play well for the Nets. So much was expected, and like a lot of people, I think it's safe to say he didn't thrive in New York. New York wasn't good for him. A lot of that was his teammates, but some of it was D. Will. D. Will didn't play, I thought, as well as he played when he was in Utah.
Kawhi Leonard just picked up his second foul, 15th foul. And Chris Paul gets the free throw. Paul missing a total of 21 games this year, including the last 14 with a thumb injury. They are 8-13 without him this year, and their defense has really suffered. They gave up a $111 without Chris Paul on the floor.
Well, I mean, again, he does so much. He runs the team. He's capable of scoring. He makes threes, obviously the assists, but the steals, he anchors the defense. He makes those other great point guards in the league work.
Leonard facing up on Ba Mute, playing with 2 fouls. And Leonard just got the 3rd on Ba Mute. Coming up on Toyota halftime, Michelle, Jalen, and Chauncey are here. We'll talk about Chris Paul's return and much more. Highlights from Toronto's big win at home against Boston. P.J. Tucker on the floor late for the Raptors.
And Serge Ibaka, yeah, exactly. Good. Appear to be very good moves. Masai Ujiri, Quinn Casey doing a great job up there. And Kyle Lowry didn't play tonight. Wasn't he in street clothes when we were watching?
Yep, did not play tonight.
Yeah, no. That's a heck of a win because Brad Stevens' group is obviously playing extremely well. The Boston Celtics.
Well, of the teams in the East, they made more moves than anybody, Toronto.
Well, I think a lot of, I don't think they sense weakness in Cleveland, but as soon as you get below Cleveland, it's a free-for-all. Everybody thinks they can be like the #2 seed.
Leonard, another missed free throw. 4 of 6 now at the line tonight. Shoots 90% of the season. Chris Paul going quickly. Able to knock it down. He was looking at Blake Griffin like he was going to pass it out to him, and he just turned to the rim at the last second.
Well, they had the double pick for him up near half court. That's where Kawhi got lost, and he was trying to create the 2-for-1 opportunity. It's about a 4.5 second difference. He may have succeeded.
Here's Ginobili using the Aldridge screen. Here's Gasol from the corner. Another 3 for Pau Gasol, his 3rd.
Pop never did and still doesn't listen to me, but when I came back from Rio this summer in the Olympics, let me finish after this.
Chris Paul gets the bounce with 2.3 on the clock.
Still 2. Watch Patty Mills.
Here's Mills with 1. Gets it off in time. It won't go. Much better offense in the second quarter for both teams. Chris Paul, 10 points for the Clippers in his first game in 5 weeks. But his team trailing at home to the Spurs by 5. Toyota halftime is coming up next from Staples.
Welcome inside Staples Center. Halftime here between the Clippers and Spurs. I'm Michelle, joined by Jalen and Chauncey. But of course, and you know what? We've got some highlights brought to you by Sports Nation Toyota. And then we can talk about what it is we just saw. Here we go. Chris Paul, first game back after a hot minute.
Happy to have CP back. Of course, he's the one guy that they can't play without, they can't win without. And obviously, he's leading the charge today. This team feels very confident against him.
And also the key for CP3's return is not only about his offense, hopefully it's going to be to jumpstart J.J. Redick and DeAndre Jordan, who really need him if they're going to be effective at their roles on the offensive end.
And Tony Parker got open for a couple threes there. The old man still got it. All right, let me ask you this, Jalen, because we were sitting over there watching the game, and you said something about mistakes and specifically where the Spurs are concerned.
This is a low-scoring basketball game, and all of a sudden, you give up a 3, then you make a turnover, you give up another 3, and before you know it, the Spurs have hit 3s on 3 consecutive possessions. They're back in the game, they're playing confident, and now their defense gets a chance to settle in against the Clippers offense.
And to me, that's one of the biggest differences of both teams is the quality of shots. The Clippers, they have, by and large, better athletes than the Spurs do.
What's that, Chauncey?
By and large, the Clippers have better athletes.
I want to make sure I heard you. Keep
However, so they can make tougher shots. San Antonio, the Spurs don't have to even take tough shots. They get very good shots, quality shots every time down the floor.
Especially in the second quarter, the Spurs did a good job of getting shots off of their offense and off their movement, catch and shoot plays, which made them more efficient. The Clippers are doing a lot off the dribble, a lot of creativity. Austin Rivers has been effective, but can that continue against a tough Spurs defense?
And that being said, Jalen and Beto, the Clippers took a bad loss last night, but it's evident that they feel confident against this team. 2-0 throughout the season, coming in on a back-to-back. The Spurs have been resting over a week. They feel confident.
I was going to ask you that because that first quarter shooting was abysmal. Is that a thing, rust, after the All-Star break? Like it takes a little minute to get your juices flowing again?
Well, I think when you lose like they lost last night, that shouldn't count for a back-to-back. Today's game is all about pride because they didn't show up last night.
50 in one quarter.
They didn't show up last night.
I agree.
So tonight they owe a sense of pride, and with Chris Paul returning into the lineup, to show that they can try to make a run in the second half.
And they're at home. And I tell you another thing for the Spurs, having Pau Gasol back is a really good thing. He does a lot of ancillary things. Good. You know, he tips the ball out on offensive rebounds a lot of times, knocking down the three ball, putting DeAndre Jordan in some tough situations as he's trying to float a little closer to block shots, get rebounds. Now you got a great shooter out there in Pau Gasol who's causing them some problems.
But here's the problem for the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard hasn't gotten going yet. And versus any team, his lowest points per game is against the Clippers. Is the second half going to be his opportunity to break out and have that big game?
And here's the other thing. What did you tell me before we left the building? If the Spurs don't win tonight, what are they, 0-3 against this team?
0-3.
That's not a thing you want to have happen.
Well, that's not a thing you want to happen.
That's not a thing everyone wants to have happen. Look how many Spurs jerseys are in this building. Which, by the way, it never ceases to amaze me at this point. There was a time you'd never see Spurs jerseys in an away arena, and now it's commonplace.
Well, I tell you what, the Spurs are not America's team, but they're your team. But they're a very good team. I got a respectful hate for the Spurs because they're so good. However, I'll be remiss if I didn't say Austin Rivers is balling.
He is.
He's been playing really well. With them getting healthy again, getting their team back, now their bench goes back to being the bench. Austin, also Spates is back. Felton is back to the bench. This team, we'll see. It's be a good second half.
But Pau Gasol's having his way in particular making threes. I want to see DeAndre Jordan's activity pick up in the second half on the boards and blocking shots.
Just happy it's a happy game and it's a good game. And P.S., what are these mascots doing? This was either the creepiest or greatest thing.
They're celebrating a birthday.
Something. We're celebrating something.
This halftime is presented by Toyota. Let's go places.
Numbers were good to San Antonio, but it's been one of those games. They're shooting identically from the field, virtually the same from the three-point line. But I'll tell you what, it's good to have two players back in the lineup for both of these teams. Incredible.
Yeah, Chris Paul and Pau Gasol both missed the last month for their respective teams. Both back, both contributed 8 points in that second quarter. That's our right combination, brought to you by State Farm.
You see the look here, a little give and go. CP, as always, we said who misses him the most? How about J.J. Redick? All alone in that weak side corner. Spurs not doing a good job. Pop can't get on the floor quick enough to get a timeout. Chris again underneath. Like the hockey assist, Wayne Gretzky goes behind the board, makes the play. How about the Spaniard who's been missing for the Spurs? You got to come out, DeAndre Jordan. Pau Gasol is an excellent three-point shooter. You can't guard him from the dotted line. He takes advantage. This time it's Kawhi Leonard. He penetrates, draws the help. That's one of his 6 assists. 3 ringside for Pau Gasol. He knows that.
The numbers for both guys overall tonight. Paul with 10 points, 3 assists, and Pau with those 3 three-pointers. Austin Rivers, the leading scorer for both teams at 15 points. And here's J.A. Adonde.
Well, guys, Greg Popovich was happy with the way his team attacked the double teams in the second quarter. He said they have to really go after him and keep that ball moving from side to side. He also was pleased that he took my advice and they did something about those turnovers in the second quarter. Only 2 turnovers in the second after 8 in the first. He said I should help him out with the coaching more often. I don't know. I think with the 5 championships, he's done just fine without me, Dave.
I'll talk to Peter Holt, the Spurs owner. J.A., you should get at least a little check for that first half. There's no question. You stem the tide with the turnovers.
You should get a free meal just for getting Pop to smile at the end of the first quarter in the interview. Tony Parker with the lob, and Dedmon got pushed from behind, going for the alley-oop. Chris Paul picking up the foul. You mentioned Austin Rivers off the bench, had 15 points to keep the Clippers in that game. Boy, what a year he's had. I don't know if he'll win most improved player, but he's definitely in the mix.
He's going to be in the hunt. If he didn't have Jamal as a teammate, you could talk to him about 6th man of the year also. I don't know if he's going to have the numbers. He started a lot of games, but I think he'll still qualify for that.
I think the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, is going to win most improved, though. Aldridge beats the shot clock buzzer, can't hit. Though, and here come the Clippers. Paul gives it up to Blake Griffin, who was quiet in that first half. Just 6 points and 3 rebounds. And did not play well offensively at Golden State last night, Griffin. 3 of 13 from the floor. Clippers had the lead in that game, then gave up 50 in the third quarter to the Warriors and lost by 10.
There's a perfect example, Dave, on both ends of the floor, how hard it is to score against these teams in the half court. Both of them had the 24-second clock on their back and had forced shots with like 1 second to go.
Aldridge trying to spin on Bamute, who committed 3 first-half fouls. They were all against Kawhi Leonard.
Here goes the clock down again. That's why Pop and Doc are screaming so much at the timeouts. Run it, push it. We want to score in transition. We want to attack an open floor, not a packed-in defense.
First game the Spurs have played since the All-Star game as Leonard connects off 1 foot.
Tough shot.
Floating to his left.
Really, really good shot. Well defended, didn't matter.
He's got 12. The 16 games prior to the All-Star break, Kawhi Leonard averaged 30 points per game and had 11 games of 30 or more during that stretch. He had 4 his entire career. And he had 11 in a month. Wow. DeAndre Jordan throws it down. That's the first time they've hooked up on an alley-oop tonight.
A little unusual. You see a 4-5 pick and roll. The 4-man making the play. 5-man, yeah, he sets the screen and goes. But Blake Griffin is a very good passer. He's averaging 5 assists. He's an underrated passer.
That's a career high for him. Leonard now floating to his right, can't get it. Griffin pushing tempo. Takes it all the way. And thought he was fouled on the play. Kawhi turns it over.
Ill-advised. Way too tough quarters to throw a bounce pass.
Here's Griffin. Fouled on the drive. As Griffin hits the deck. It appears to be okay. Leonard picking up his 3rd personal foul. And boy, they just got Chris Paul back. Griffin already missed 18 games. I thought he was just frustrated, and then thought maybe he got hurt because he stayed down for a bit.
Yeah, he did. I was scared too. Danny Greenwood, that's a play that's not made a lot. That's a very smart play. You hear that whistle, if it's not goaltending, block the shot. Don't give him the and one. A lot of players don't do that.
I think he's definitely shaken up.
Well, I'll tell you what, for him to get up slow, he's got to be shaken up because, I mean, that is one strong, athletic gentleman. Put a car out there and he'd jump right over it, Dave.
We've seen it. It's his 12th game back. He missed 18 with a knee injury. Last year, of course, he broke the hand punching the assistant equipment manager, and then he also had that quad injury, which he hurt at Christmas initially, then hurt in the playoffs. He's had a terrific season when healthy.
Well, they just haven't been healthy. I asked J.J. Redick before the game last night, and I asked Doc off camera last night, do you feel you're snake bitten? And they both said, nah, you know, we really don't believe in that. And then they went, but it's unbelievable, and it is. The amount of games that they've missed from key players, particularly leading into or during playoffs. It's incredible.
Both Paul and Griffin were hurt in that series against Portland in the first round last year when they lost. Leonard against Bamute. Out to Gasol for 3. This one won't fall. It was a 2-point attempt. Those free throws by Blake Griffin, the first points off of Spurs turnovers tonight. Redick for 3. Got it! Timeout San Antonio as Redick ties the game at 49.
Pop doesn't hesitate. They didn't do a good job. See, he left his feet. JJ got an open shot. Pau Gasol late with the pressure.
Broadcast of the National Basketball Association may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of the NBA.
There's a season for everything. A time to play.
A time to work.
A time to dream.
And a time to shine a light on the past. To brighten the future.
Together.
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 Welcome back to Los Angeles with PJ Carlissimo, J.A. Adonde. I'm Dave Pash. Clippers and Spurs tied at 49 early in the 3rd quarter. San Antonio with the 2nd best record in the NBA at 43-13. The Clippers were in 4th going into the night, tied with Utah, but the Jazz winning in Milwaukee. So right now the Clippers in 5th in the West. And obviously top 4 get home court as Aldridge is fouled. Did you see DeAndre Jordan there?
He gave Brian Forte a little encouragement. Good call, ref. I'm sure that's what he said to him. That's a nice call. Brian, of course, the son of, in my opinion, the great Joe Forte. Tremendous college and NBA official.
Aldridge was at Texas for 2 years and then was drafted #2 overall. His rights traded by Chicago to Portland, spent 9 years there, now back in Texas in his second year with the Spurs. Did not make the All-Star team, was an All-Star last year though.
Well, he's into the San Antonio spirit already because he has, you ask about why his numbers are down, he's deferred also to Kawhi Leonard. He's accepted the role, but I think one of the reasons that he's so comfortable doing it is 43-13. He likes winning games and he likes the opportunity to go deep in the playoffs.
San Antonio lost in the conference semifinals last year despite having the second best record behind Golden State during the regular season. As Chris Paul dinged on that play.
I thought it was that same type of squeezing through.
He got hurt against Oklahoma City, suffered that torn thumb ligament.
Yeah, this wasn't his hand this time. He got caught.
Foul was on Kawhi Leonard, his 4th. He'll stay out there with 4 fouls. Here's Griffin facing up. Able to hit the jumper, and he has 10 points.
That's why Blake is such a tough cover. I mean, he can run the floor, he can bounce it, he's improved shooting. The book on Blake used to be let him shoot the ball outside, no more.
But the question still remains, is he a go-to guy in the 4th quarter as Leonard is fouled and will go to the line? You look at Griffin's numbers in the 4th quarter, he's averaging 2 points per game, shooting 36%. And in previous years in the postseason, he was not a guy that you would go to late.
Well, I have no answer for that. His 4th quarter numbers are abysmal. You can't defend him. I mean, you see it right there. You don't need an analytics person to look at that and say, that's not what you want from a max player, somebody that is an all-NBA player, is a multiple-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year. 4th quarter is when you step up, and that's what defines the great players, what happens late in the game. So that's clearly an area that Blake has got to improve if the Clippers are going to get to where Doc Rivers wants to take them.
And again, no trades made at all. Doc told all of us before the game he feels they've had a great year. He said at the beginning of the year, when asked about the Warriors and San Antonio, said, I like our team. I think our chances are great to win it all, although they have lost 10 straight to Golden State, including last night. Like Griffin with a basket there.
Yeah, but I read into it the other way too, David. I thought he was also saying he didn't like any of the deals. He listened, and Lawrence Frank listened. He would have done something if he thought it improved the team. He didn't see it, as LA can't get that to fall. But I think he knows they still have to improve. Wow. CP being back is the best improvement. That's all they really need. Get him healthy, but I think he would have been willing to do anything. He frankly didn't like anything he heard at all, and it wasn't he had to think about it.
But when you say that, do you mean including the All-Star players, or are you just talking about getting another piece?
No, I think another piece. I don't think he.
That's how I read it as well. That it did not. He wasn't even thinking about Griffin, Paul, DeAndre Jordan, or Redick.
No, I don't think he was. But you listen. You pick the phone up all the time, and you say you don't anymore say never. You don't say I wouldn't do that. Because you got to listen. People move really good players. I don't think there was anything there, but he didn't hear anything he really liked. It wasn't like he had to even have a debate about it.
Patty Mills' 3 is short as Ba Moute picked up his 4th foul. Long rebound to Griffin, goes right at Kawhi Leonard.
Wow.
And Leonard just picked up his 5th foul. It was a late whistle.
Oh, man. Murat Koga was on the baseline, and he passed on it. I can't believe Kawhi didn't get out of the way, though. I mean, this is a one-on-one. Get out of the way. Let him shoot.
I mean, he grabbed him.
I don't know.
He put his arm in there.
I'd like to see it again.
He grabbed him. That's a foul, isn't it?
Boy, I don't know.
But like you said, you got 4.
No, he has to get out of the way. It's a mistake by Kawhi. But it was interesting. The closer official, the baseline official, didn't make the call.
So Leonard with 6 assists and 14 points is going to sit down for a while. 5 fouls with 7:13 to go in the 3rd. And Blake Griffin is starting to catch fire now. A couple of field goals back-to-back, and now free throw. He also had 2 free throws earlier in the quarter, and the Clippers in front by 4.
The Clippers are putting the ball in the basket in a strange way. That helps your defense so much. Now San Antonio's got to take it out of bounds. Now San Antonio has to play against the half-court defense of the Clippers. That's a lot different. When you're missing, you go up and down the floor, you get a flow going. You put the ball in the basket, like right there, you have to take it out of bounds, and all 5 guys are back, and you have the matchups you want.
So Griffin now with 8 in the quarter. Career best 75% free throw shooter this year. Last touch by Gasol. Or excuse me, they're going to say it was off the Clippers.
That looked like an old-time NBA call. I don't know who was off, but they didn't make the foul call, so they gave the ball back. In the old days, you'd do that. You're not supposed to do that anymore. Look out.
So Jonathan Simmons on the floor for San Antonio. He'll go right at DeAndre Jordan. There aren't many guys that can actually get off the floor and jump higher than Jordan when Jordan jumps and extends those arms. But Simmons is one of those guys as Jordan picked up his 3rd foul.
Well, he's got hops, no question. He's right. That's a good call. DeAndre Jordan chopped down. He normally doesn't do that. One of the reasons he's such a great rim protector is he normally goes straight up, doesn't chop his hand down. He did that time, came right across Jonathan's shoulder.
Coming up on ABC tomorrow night, our Saturday primetime game. It's the Cavs and Bulls from Cleveland. 8:30 p.m. tip time. Sunday on NBA TV. The Suns are in Milwaukee. OKC hosts New Orleans. Charlotte's at the Clippers. And Monday on TNT, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Indiana at Houston. We mentioned New Orleans is at Oklahoma City. What do you make of the DeMarcus Cousins trade? He played his first game last night with the Pelicans. And he and Anthony Davis were good, but the team wasn't. They lost by 30 to Houston.
Well, it's too early to say, but I think it's addition by subtraction. I like what Sacramento did. I'm not sure those two bigs. They're 2 excellent players. I love Anthony Davis. DeMarcus has just got to show that he's being more of a professional. If he's a professional, he's one of the best players in the league. LaMarcus knocks that shot down. I don't think you can call him one of the best players in the league if he's not professional. And there's been too many instances where he has not been professional. Maybe Alvin Gentry can get through to him.
I mean, they have to win down the stretch to even have a chance of the playoffs. New Orleans.
Oh, no, they got to go. There's no question about that. And he's going to be free. But Blake Griffin's got it. You're talking about going. He's got it going right now. If I'm not mistaken, DeMarcus is going to be free at the end of the year also.
He's got 1 year left.
One more?
Yep. 10 points for Blake Griffin, by the way, here in the quarter. 16 for the game as the Clippers have a 5-point lead. Shot clock at 5. Simmons, wow, from way out. And there was some time. Offensive rebound by Gasol. Now Danny Green wide open. Green this year is shooting it pretty well, 41% after not shooting it well a year ago. Redick always seems to shoot it well, but misfires there.
San Antonio needs to get some half-court offense. Normally that means you got LaMarcus, Pau Gasol, and Patty Mills on the floor with Danny Green. The offense shouldn't be a problem.
Gasol throws it into the backcourt. Another turnover, 12 by the Spurs. But again, just 2 Clipper points off of those turnovers.
Wow, this one's a dead ball turnover, so they can go back and get their defense set up. But here's a guy on the floor right now who's been the catalyst for this team so many times. Instant offense, creates mayhem on the floor. Usually good. Sometimes you have to add it up at the end. Look at the third quarter. Those are ugly numbers.
Clippers
not making from downtown and not executing in close.
Clippers will take that after giving up 50 at Golden State in the third quarter last night.
Wow, I'll tell you, that was a perfect storm.
And they scored 26 in that quarter. 3-point chance for DeAndre Jordan, just his 2nd field goal and his first trip to the foul line tonight.
Well, good look right there. They recognize the mismatch. Again, we talked about Blake's passing. He's double teamed. That means somebody's open. And in this case, it's DeAndre against a much smaller player. Good recognition. But going back to what you said, normally when you score 26 points in a quarter and shoot 47%, you say, hey, that's pretty good. Unfortunately, last night they did that and they trailed by 24 for the quarter. But I mean, Golden State was incredible. Obviously, Steph gets 20, Kevin Durant gets 15, but they shoot 17 for 23. They missed 6 shots in the quarter. Golden State also had 4 offensive rebounds, so 4 of those 6, they got the ball back. Shot 74% from the field, 60 from the free throw line.
Did not miss a 2-point shot, right?
8 for 8 from 2, incredible.
Aldridge misses. Clippers on a 13-4 run. They had a run in the second quarter. Chris Paul Lob to Jordan for the stop.
That was beautiful what he did right there. Chris Paul recognized he had the big man on him. He took him away from the basket and then threw it down.
Gasol hits the two-pointer. That's Pau's first two-point basket of the game. Hit 3 threes in the first half. Griffin through the lane, draws the foul, and the Spurs are now in the penalty.
Watch what CP does. He realizes he's got LaMarcus Aldridge on him, so he takes him away from the basket. Now there's nobody to help Manu Ginobili underneath. Look at this. That's just great point guard play. Then the high lob that nobody can get to. Easy finish for DeAndre against a much smaller guy. But it's the recognition from CP. Get the big, draw the big away from the basket, and let DeAndre do his work.
Well, Pop told us before the game, look, we respect all the players the Clippers have, but Chris Paul is the guy that makes him go. He has so much respect for Paul. He tells his young point guards, the guy to watch and study is Chris Paul.
CP is a nightmare for the San Antonio Spurs. He's the primary reason behind this one-sided rivalry recently for LA. I'll tell you, Etre Messina, talking to Etre Messina, the great European coach and Spur assistant, I said to him before the game, and he said, what do you think? He said, is Chris Paul going to play or not? I said, yeah, and he goes, that's not good for us. No kidding.
He hit the game-winning shot to beat them in Game 7 2 years ago in the first round, and Paul and the Clippers, the only team to beat the Spurs twice this year. Chance to make it 3, but another second chance opportunity thanks to Gasol.
He's really working the offensive glass.
There he goes at DeAndre Jordan, and Gasol at age 36 puts it on the floor and gets into the paint.
Back to my story from Rio. When I came back from Rio, Pop said, you know, what'd you think? We're just talking about the different players. And I said, Pau Gasol is shooting the 3 so well. I said, I didn't realize he was such a good three-point shooter. He's going to make more threes this year than he's made in any year in the NBA.
Yeah, 24 is his career high, and he had that last year in Chicago, and he's at 23 for this season. And remember, he missed a month, so this is just his 40th game.
He's going to shatter it.
Chris Paul called for a foul there against Patty Mills. That is the second on Paul. Clippers are over the limit.
But again, the versatility, not just the shot. Takes the big guy and goes right in. DeAndre Jordan learned from the first half. He went out and got him, so Pau just adjusts, puts it on the floor, and takes him to the rack.
Next Wednesday, it's another doubleheader on ESPN. The Cavs and Celtics start things at 8, followed by the Rockets here in LA to face the Clippers. Coverage starts with NBA Countdown at 7. Boston losing in Toronto tonight, so the Celtics right now are 5 games back of Cleveland in the loss column for the top spot in the East. As Danny Ainge said today, it's not like we didn't listen. You mentioned that earlier. You're always listening. But he said they just didn't feel that it was worth it based on what was out there to make the move.
They listen for sure, and he wants to make a move. Nobody wants to make a move more than Danny. But he's made a lot of good ones, and, you know, the expression in the league, it's not always the deals you do, it's the ones you don't do.
Here's Tony Parker playing with Patty Mills right now.
This is another extra possession from offensive rebound or team offensive rebound.
Great cut by Ginobili and finish. It is back to the rim. Knew exactly where he was, though, and a three-point chance. Beautiful basketball.
Well, when you play for most of your 40 years all over the world and you win Olympics and EuroLeague championships and NBA championships, the floor is 94 by 50. He doesn't have to look. He knows where the baskets are. Give me the ball, I'll put it in the basket.
First points for Ginobili tonight, and the Spurs are back within 3 with 3 to play here in the third. Spurs have scored the last 6 points. Austin Rivers, nothing yet in the third, had 15 in the first half. Spins out on the 3. Parker bumped by Austin Rivers. Not a smart foul there. That will send Tony Parker to the line when we come back to Los Angeles. Nerlens Noel going to Dallas to try to help them get into the playoffs.
I like this deal for OKC. Those two boys can play. They're good players.
Taj Gibson was the longest tenured Bull on that roster, and we saw P.J. Tucker earlier tonight play a role.
9 boards late in the game. I don't know if he got another one after that, but he contributed, as did Serge Ibaka.
I heard Brian Windhorst say earlier today in regard to Paul George that Atlanta was going to trade 4 first-round picks to Indiana, and the Pacers turned that down. Paul George was frustrated that Indiana did not get him some more help.
I still have the coach's mentality. I don't care about picks. I care about all NBA players. Paul George, Jimmy Butler, I'm not giving them up unless I get a lot back. A pick to me is not a lot.
Spates in the lane. Can't get the bounce, and the Spurs looking to go back in front. They've scored the last 8 points. And this lineup has been effective with Parker, Mills, and Ginobili, along with Gasol and David Lee. Here's Mills for 3.
What
short.
A good look by Tony, and what a smart play as usual by Manu Ginobili.
Boy, the rebounding for the Clippers. They've given up 11 offensive rebounds as Patty Mills gives San Antonio the 1-point lead.
Well, Doc makes no secret about it. That's LA, and has been LA's weakness. It still is. They're just not a very good rebounding team on either board, defensively or offensively. That's surprising when you start with Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan, but they're not a good rebounding team.
Rivers gets to the rim for his first second-half points.
No help. Pop's really upset.
Rivers with 17. Blake Griffin has 18 to lead LA. Spates with good D getting the block, and now Griffin running the break. 3 on 2.
Great hustle getting back.
Now Gasol. Call for the foul that will send Rivers to the line. Second foul on Gasol. So Austin Rivers, who was the 10th pick by New Orleans in 2012, having his best NBA season, playing for his father.
I actually thought, Dave, excuse me, when Doc, I thought he made a mistake when he did it. Not that Austin wasn't a pretty good player, but I thought he was, maybe good enough, maybe not. And you don't want to be playing for your father in a situation like that. Well, they both proved me wrong. Doc knew what he was doing, and Austin proved that the confidence was well taken. He deserves his minutes. He's become an even better player, and it's really worked out. And I got to think Doc's really enjoying coaching his son. That's just a special, special situation.
And I'd have to think it's different than other situations where Rivers really has to earn the respect of your teammates, right? When you're playing for your dad, and he's done that.
Oh, no, you got to do that and then some, and he's done it.
Mills fouled, count the basket, a 3-point chance for Patty Mills.
Patty Mills has been so important to this team. You remember in the finals, but he's been that instant offense guy. He grabbed him. There's no question about it. Austin's upset. He grabbed him right around the waist. The only question was whether it should have been continuity or not. They're taking a look. We got 4 officials in Secaucus tonight. Takes me a minute to read it. Mark Ayat, Carl Lane, Scott Wall, James Williams. So by the time Zach Zarba gets over to the table, they tell him that's been a really good addition this year.
It's been great.
Shortened the replays.
Yep.
The only ones I think that the game officials deal with are the flagrant foul situations.
Yep. It's so efficient. Like you said, by the time the crew chief goes over to look at it, they've usually made a decision, or you may get one look at it, and the replay center back in Secaucus is having a brief discussion with the crew chief before they announce their decision.
Hats off, Kiki Vandeweghe, Joe Borgia, NBA.
Mills now has 11 points. Spurs back up 1. A minute to go here in the third. Spates will try the 3. Won't fall. Parker clears. How many second chance looks for the Clippers? Just 4 second chance points. Lee off target. Lee 0 for 3, no points in this game, but he has had a very good season for San Antonio. Of course, was with the Warriors when they won the title a couple of years ago.
Excellent addition. David Lee, still a very good basketball player. A lot of people wonder defensively whether he can fit in. I'll tell you what, San Antonio can get you to play defense. There's enough really good defenders on this team that once you learn the concepts, and if you pay attention and you're where you're supposed to be, you can overcome that. You don't have to guard people one-on-one all the time. This is a team defense.
Rivers with 18 points. Knocks down the first free throw. When Chris Paul was out of the lineup, Austin Rivers was averaging 16 points per game. All of his numbers skyrocketed offensively. But obviously everybody, including Rivers, will benefit from having Paul back in the lineup. He returned tonight after missing 14 games with a thumb injury. He's played very well in 23 minutes, Chris Paul. Parker got Spades off his feet.
I was going to say before that, he made a mistake. The only thing, Austin Rivers got to the free throw line, but he went a little early. He gave San Antonio the opportunity to get the 2 for 1, and Tony Parker recognized that.
Rivers had trouble with a handle, inadvertently tripped when he drove.
Mismatch inside.
Rivers for 3. And David Lee able to clear. Here comes Ginobili with 9 seconds to go in the quarter.
There's the 2 for 1. San Antonio so good finishing quarters.
Ginobili will try the 3 and bury it with 2 seconds to go in the third. Ooh, almost a steal. Rivers gets it off in time, but an air ball. Excellent close to the third quarter by San Antonio, and the Spurs take a 4-point lead.
For the first time since mid-December, what have you made of their first effort tonight?
Well, we're not fluid. You can see that, obviously, but we're just trying to win this game. We got more games to get it going, so we're just trying to figure out a way to win this game.
Manu Ginobili is still so disruptive for the Spurs. Are you ready for him to retire yet?
I can't wait. Him and Pop and a whole bunch of other ones, too.
Thanks a lot, Doc. Let's go back to Day Pass and PJ.
Well, Ginobili 39, Gasol 36, Tony Parker 34, and those are the 3 guys doing the damage in the third quarter for San Antonio, which outscored the Clippers 18-5 down the stretch. And they have a 4-point lead.
See that run after Kawhi goes to the bench, the gray beards in the bench. San Antonio's bench has been so important. One of the primary reasons is Pop uses his bench. He doesn't play the other guys big minutes, and he gives guys an opportunity.
Lee missed badly the first time and then puts it in for his first basket. It's a 6-point Spurs lead.
He gets a blocked shot. He blocked his own shot on the first one and gets an offensive rebound. Scores.
San Antonio fresh, while the Clippers played last night at Golden State. They've lost 6 straight games in the second night of a back-to-back. Might be 7 in a row if they don't figure things out here. They're struggling right now offensively. Did score 31 points in that third quarter, but no second chance points. They have 4 for the game. They're not rebounding tonight.
No, they don't rebound.
Dedmon, bad defense that time.
Doc's seen enough. How about the pass from Ginobili, though? Manu Ginobili is such an intuitive basketball player. Here he goes to his right hand. He's got double team. Somebody's open. Beautiful basketball.
Their rodeo road trip since 2002-2003. They've won 70% of their games. And this year, overall, 24-7 on the road.
Well, they don't just fill the AT&T, they fill Freeman Coliseum right next door. But you made a great point. It's not one trip. It's always disjointed because it spans the All-Star break. And that helps. Ooh, TP couldn't get it to finish. Look at this.
Another second chance opportunity, though, and Danny Green. No good on the 3.
That was a big shot. It's awful early, but that was a mini dagger.
David Lee just picked up his second foul for San Antonio. And Chris Paul comes back into the game along with Jordan and Griffin. Paul's first game in a month. He's got 15 points, 4 assists. Here again is the problem for the Clippers, and it's not just tonight. Minus 18 on the glass in this game, and only 4 second chance points.
Well, they're number 20 in the league offensive rebound percentage, and they're number 14 defensive rebound percentage. For an elite team, those aren't good numbers. You got to be higher than that. They're not top 10 in either one. They're virtually bottom 10 in offensive rebounds. So that's given up a lot. You don't have a good defensive possession till you secure the ball at the end of it. They don't do it, and they don't get those cheap garbage points you would think they do with the Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan on the floor.
It's a confusion. That was a strange sequence. They called the foul initially on David Lee. Then they changed it and said it was on the Clippers. It was on Spades, his third. Kawhi Leonard, by the way, back on the floor with 5 fouls. Leonard with 14 points in 22 minutes. And here he goes for 3. Short.
Well, they just missed 2 wide open threes.
Leonard 0 for 2 from behind the arc. On the season, he's shooting 40% from out there. Redick leaning in. And Dwayne Dedmon with the clear.
He did a great job. He never left his feet. He just stayed between JJ and the basket. Ooh, TP, I thought he had the bucket that time.
Ginobili around 2 screens. Now finds Parker in the corner. He'll try the three. Rattles out. And DeAndre Jordan boards.
Clips are dodging some bullets right now. That's 3 good looks in a row for San Antonio. None of them went down.
Griffin was the go-to guy in the third quarter. Got stripped that time by Aldridge. And then Parker fouled in the backcourt by Chris Paul. 3rd on Paul. And the 2nd on the Clippers. Their first turnover in the last 18 minutes. But really, it doesn't matter. They just offensively look out of sync here in the 4th quarter overall, even though they haven't been turning it over.
Well, both teams did a good job in the 3rd quarter. Clippers did not have a turnover. San Antonio only had 2. 31-30 quarter.
So it's Parker, Green, Aldridge, Dedmon, and Leonard on the floor for San Antonio. Bamute defending Leonard, Griffin, Paul, Redick, and Jordan. So the 5 Clipper starters out there. Aldridge going right at Griffin, turns to the shoulder, and no basket. Traveling is called on LaMarcus Aldridge.
Wow, they finally got one to go down, but travel called before.
Clippers have missed their last 7 shots from the floor. Griffin over Tony Parker to DeAndre Jordan.
They've done a great job recognizing the switches. CP goes off the pick and roll, and Blake Griffin again delivers the ball. His passing has to impress you.
Chris Paul took a shot. Looks like to the shoulder there. Favoring that left shoulder as Green misses. Aldridge, another second chance basket for San Antonio. Well, we've seen both Paul and Griffin take some shots in this game, and both winced on a couple of occasions.
And Doc Rivers winced along with them, I guarantee you.
Jordan had trouble with a pass. Shot clock at 5. And Parker with a great steal. Just took it away from Paul, who's mad. Paul was going to try to challenge that, but Parker shielded him with his body and got the layup.
Those two have had some fantastic matchups in the past, really going at each other.
Largest lead of the night for San Antonio right now. 10 points over the Clippers. Griffin on the attack. Oh, he got mauled. Took a shot to the face.
Yeah, he did.
Blood below the eye there of Blake Griffin. Wow.
Dwayne Dedmon's walking around shaking his head too. I thought he hit Dwayne's head. I don't know what part of Dwayne's body hit him, but I thought it might have been head against eye.
Well, we saw Blake Griffin hit the deck hard earlier in the game, and he stayed down for a little bit. Thought at first he was just frustrated, but then he was doubled over for a while, was in some pain. Took a shot to the face here, and
Jason Powell, the trainer, working on him right now. He's hopefully.
And they've just got their roster back at full strength for the first time in 2 months. Griffin has to go to the locker room.
We'll see.
That right shoulder looked like a Dedmon that caught Griffin under the eye.
He was kind of screened by LaMarcus. He reached in with his hand. This will be a better look.
I think it's that shoulder.
Good call. He's back. He didn't spend a lot of time in the locker room.
Well, remember, he's got to shoot the free throws.
Well, I think they're just going to put a butterfly on it. Yeah.
Has to shoot those free throws, otherwise he can't come back in the game.
He was shooting the ball?
I looked like a active shooting to me. Now the officials are looking to see if there was a flagrant, but that's just a basketball play there, right? I mean, that's just
no way there's a flagrant. I think they. What?
But that's what they're looking at. It is a shooting foul. So they just confirmed that it's a common foul. They're going to fix it so he can shoot the free throws. We'll see if they've got to do more work on it, though.
Well, put a butterfly on it now. Hopefully that'll be enough. You don't need to stitch it up because it certainly will take a little bit longer to stitch it up. Here we go. Zach Zarba coming over to explain to us.
Okay, they were also looking to see if DeAndre Jordan pushed. I don't know if you could hear Zach Zarba there. If he pushed in a flagrant way Dedmon into Blake Griffin. But that was not the case. Griffin 6 of 6 at the line so far. And despite having trouble seeing out of that eye, I'm sure with the Band-Aid right there, gets the first free throw.
Got a lot of football in him. Young man from Oklahoma City. He's a... It'll take more than that to knock him out of the game.
Griffin gets them both. They'll stay in the game here. Team down 8. Griffin, team high 20 points. Austin Rivers also with 20. And then Paul with an excellent defensive play. And now Griffin on the other end. Gets the layup. Watt of the foul, didn't get the call. But 22 points now for Blake Griffin. And a San Antonio timeout.
Pop is really upset. CP. Look clean. That's kind of a long look right there, but it looked like a typical Chris Paul heady play.
Trying to go to 44-13. They have a 6-point lead on the LA Clippers, who are trying to avoid back-to-back losses to start the post-All-Star break schedule. They fell at Golden State last night. Clippers have 8 points off of the last 4 San Antonio turnovers. Remember, they didn't score a point off of San Antonio turnovers in the first half. Kawhi Leonard misses. He's 4 of 11 from the floor. Chris Paul playing 27 minutes so far in his first game back from injury.
Yeah, surprising him out because you know he's going to be in most of these final 7.
Griffin, game high 22 points, working on Patty Mills. Here comes the double, and Griffin throws it away.
JJ slid over. Blake turned around and thought JJ was still on the right wing, and instead JJ got behind him. He tried to get in the vision of Blake Griffin. Unfortunately, Blake threw it before he looked.
10th turnover by Los Angeles. Here's Green against Redick. Clippers come in 35-22. Currently in the 5th spot in the West. Patty Mills for 3. It's good.
Tough shot.
Mills with his second 3-point basket. 14 points off the bench.
Well, they don't have the tiebreaker yet with Utah, but they've beaten Utah twice already with 2 games still to play. 1 home, 1 away. So a little bit of a leg up if it does end up Utah and the Clippers tied.
Aldridge called for his 3rd foul, reaching in.
Usually you say you got to get your feet set if you're going to make it. Patty Mills is not usual. The gentleman from down under by way of St. Mary's. He's going sideways, wow. But when he launched it, he was square to the basket.
I think officials are having a discussion here, and I think they're just going to say side out.
Doc tries Murat Koga, gets nowhere. Now he moves down to Zach Zarba.
So they take the foul away from Aldridge and just say side out of bounds.
LaMarcus is looking up at the scoreboard, telling Brian Forte, check it out.
Blake Griffin through the lane, gets it set right back in his face by Dedmon, tries again, misses, but keeps at it, scores, and a foul. That's the first offensive rebound for the Clippers since early in the 2nd quarter, and Griffin makes it count.
This is an old-fashioned, let me beat you to it. Could have been a jump ball call. He just goes right in and gets it. He bulls his way through.
Band-Aid came off a little bit there. 4 fouls now on Aldridge. And Griffin, perfect at the line tonight. 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. So he's right at his average, a little bit higher on the scoring, but assist-wise and rebounding right there.
That's what I would envision from Blake and DeAndre. You would think those two would be all over the boards, but doesn't really happen for the Clippers. Defense! Defense!
So it looks like they actually did call a foul earlier on Aldridge. I thought they were discussing and going to change it. They actually called a foul, just it was a side out. They said it was not a shooting motion, and that's why it was a side out of bounds. And then Aldridge picked up another foul after that, his 4th. Now Blake Griffin picks up a foul, his 3rd. Both teams charged with 3 fouls here in the 4th quarter.
Interesting to see whether Pop goes back to Pau Gasol, who's been really good on the boards, or stays with Dwayne Dedmon, who has played extremely well in Pau's absence.
Yeah, Dedmon has 11 rebounds. Good catch there by Dedmon, and finishes with the left hand in the lane.
Well, that'll help make the decision for you.
Career high scoring and rebounding for Dedmon, 4th year out of USC on his 4th NBA team. Griffin fouled by Aldridge, so that's 5 on him. Both Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge.
That's a tough call there.
5 fouls.
They switched 3 times on that play. It was a 4-5 again. It's amazing the amount of 4-5 exchanges or pick and rolls the Clippers will run. Dedmon in LA, LaMarcus Aldridge just kept switch again. Blake finally just put his head down and bowled his way in. Here's Pau Gasol headed to the scorer's table right now, probably for LA.
So Blake Griffin at the free throw line, 75% on the season, a career high. Obviously Griffin is very good in all the commercials he does, but he's an incredibly hard worker. And that's one thing Doc has always talked about with Blake is he loves the game, really works at it. This is an area of his game he's improved immensely. Shooting in general, but free throw shooting in particular. 10 of 10 here in the second half of the line.
What he needs more than anything is to stay healthy. That's 21 points so far in the second half. You said he doesn't normally perform in the fourth quarter. He's doing it tonight.
Great point. Got the last 9 Clipper points. Remember, he averages 2 points per game in the fourth quarter. To put that in perspective, Isaiah Thomas averages 11 points per game in the fourth quarter for Boston.
Well, San Antonio is struggling against the Clipper defense.
Leonard, a floater from 3. And Griffin takes the rebound and now takes off. Here's Redick. Got the offensive rebound, and then it was touched last by San Antonio. Redick has not shot the ball well tonight from three-point land, just 2 of 7.
Both teams have really had opportunities. Some of their better shooters, wide open looks, and they haven't gone down. The last Kawhi shot was not a wide open look. That was a one-footed 3. Strange shot selection from Kawhi.
He's 0 for 3 from 3 as Parker comes back for Mills. Clippers, meanwhile, have missed their last 7 3-pointers.
Parker and Ginobili in for San Antonio. Look at Ginobili.
Wow, what a steal by Ginobili. I don't know how that happens, though, on an inbound. Leonard with the dunk. And Doc Rivers is irate right now, saying, how can Ginobili deflect that pass? It just left Paul's hand.
I said he either reached over or they thought he was out of bounds.
Jordan with the rebound and put back.
They're getting a little testy now. The players are upset with the officials. They're taking it out on each other. You saw a couple of little short elbows or forearm thrusts right there.
Well, the Clippers are always upset with the officials.
That's true, but they've been pretty good tonight. They have always been the team that cries the most, but they've been pretty good tonight.
4.5 to go. San Antonio in front by 6. Leonard puts it on the deck, gets right to the rim, throws it down.
There's the strength again. He just goes through, kind of like a fullback going through the line, and he's got the ball right there protected in the one hand.
18 now for Kawhi Leonard. He's averaging a career high 26 points per game. The most by a Spur since Tim Duncan in 2002. 7 on the timer for Paul. Great pass to Jordan, just couldn't handle it. Ends up in the hands of Tony Parker. Parker goes at Redick, pulls it out.
Smart play. Ooh, boy.
Leonard's 3.
Big possession. I'm surprised he shot it that quick.
0 for 4 from behind the arc. Now Griffin in transition. Out to Redick. He'll try it. Won't drop again. 2 of 8 now for Redick from out there.
One of those nights that both teams are getting some shots that they would want. Unable to finish. Kawhi Leonard has burped up 2 that I think when they look at the tape, they're going to suggest maybe a little more patience.
Parker, and they're going to get Griffin for his 4th foul. NBA Saturday primetime at ABC resumes tomorrow from Cleveland. LeBron James and the Cavs taking on the Chicago Bulls. NBA Countdown starts us off at 8 Eastern. Cleveland 40-16 prior to the All-Star break. Best record in the Eastern Conference.
May not have to come up with new roster sheets tomorrow, but maybe in the very near future there'll be some different players wearing Chicago and Cleveland colors.
A trade that the Bulls made with Oklahoma City. Although Jimmy Butler staying put, Taj Gibson, the longest tenured Bull, going to the Thunder, and then Cleveland. Rumors that Darren Williams could be signing with the Cavs. Of course, they made a big trade about a month ago when Kyle Korver came over to Cleveland from Atlanta. Blake Griffin saying that Dedmon committed a violation.
Exactly. Jack said he wasn't. Well, the turnovers have gone back and forth. You know, you documented how the Spurs had those first 10. They got no points off from the Clippers. Then they turned it around. Now this quarter, 5 turnovers. Spurs 7 points off the Clipper turnovers. 5 Clipper turnovers in the fourth quarter for 7 San Antonio points.
And the Spurs have matched their largest lead of the night at 10 points with 3.5 to go. Tony Parker has been very solid tonight with 15 points. Here's Chris Paul with the jumper. Too strong. And again, no white shirts around the rim for second chance looks.
Graybeard's on the floor for San Antonio. Tony Parker, Pau Gasol, Manu Ginobili, along with Kawhi Leonard and Dedmon, who I'll call youngsters.
Parker now has Griffin on him. And there was contact as Gasol and Redick got tangled up. Wow. Be a Clipper foul. And San Antonio in command late here in Los Angeles. Performance in your lane, choose Goodyear tires. Goodyear, more driven. Well, a lot of times this year for the San Antonio Spurs, it's been Kawhi Leonard doing the bulk of the scoring. Tonight it's about balance. Leonard has been in foul trouble. He's still the leading scorer with 18 points. Aldridge 15. Parker's been very good. Mills and Gasol off the bench, combining for 27 points.
Well, the San Antonio bench is often the story. Tonight, 41 points off the San Antonio bench, 28 off the Clipper bench, a.k.a. Austin Rivers.
Yeah, right.
20 of those 28 points. But bench points, enormous, and points off turnovers, enormous advantage for the Spurs.
Yeah, Bass and Spates off the bench. 2 field goals and 1 field goal, respectively. Clippers, meanwhile, as a team, shooting just 29% in the quarter, and the Spurs have their largest lead of the night. Pau Gasol, a double-double in his first game back after missing the last month. 15 games with a broken hand.
Well, Chris Paul and Pau Gasol very productive after not playing for as long a time as they've missed.
Spurs have scored the last 6 points. They lead by 12 here inside 3 to play. Clippers trying to avoid back-to-back losses. Foul at Golden State last night. They're going to get Gasol for a foul. He's saying Paul ran into his shoulder while he was standing still, but
he's half right. Chris initiated. You know, I talked before about the matchups. Chris Paul and Tony Parker, very good friends, but they really go after each other.
Spurs are over the limit, so Paul will be at the free throw line.
Again, a heady play. Stops the clock. They get a chance to get a pair of points from an excellent free throw shooter.
Well, the Clippers started this season 14-2. It's their best start ever through 16 games. Since, if they lose tonight, be 500, 21-21. Now, they haven't had Paul. They haven't had Griffin. Now, last year they went a long stretch without Blake Griffin and played very well, had a lot of wins. That has not been the case this year.
But you go back just to January 1st, playing without all. They win 7 straight. Then they lose 7 out of 9. They ended up going 5 and 6 in that 11-game stretch. They won 4 before the All-Star break. Yeah. Now you say, well, they lose 2, but look at who they lost to. At Golden State, and they may very well lose to the Spurs at home tonight. It's the 2 best records in the NBA.
And the schedule is much more favorable. Beautiful ball away by Kawhi Leonard. He has 20 points. But after this, 15 games of the final 24 for the Clippers will be against teams under 500.
And 15 of them will be, 14 of them now after tonight will be in this building.
Here's Paul over Gasol, and that was well defended. Leonard comes up with a rebound, and he's fouled by DeAndre Jordan. That's 4 on Jordan, and that will send a 90% free throw shooter to the line. So not a smart foul there by Jordan.
No, they didn't. Stewie.
Brianna Stewart. How about what UConn's doing? Triple digits, consecutive wins. Rookie of the year in the WNBA.
Gino, his staff, incredible. Yeah, you got Brianna. She's playing in my hometown, plays for the Storm in Seattle. She's special. I remember talking to Becky Hammond about her. Becky sitting there behind Ettore Messina, just how good she is. She, rookie of the year, she really, really knows how to play basketball. She was injured. She's back. The game, you know, the thing that's also impressive, the night they won 100, all the former players there supporting. That program is incredible. And Gino Auriemma, obviously, one of a kind. Caught you and Bill Walton talking about it. Bill talking about it. Obviously, 88 straight wins for UCLA.
Yep.
Gino 100 and counting.
Becky Hammond, obviously a very good WNBA player, now very well respected assistant coach for the Spurs as DeAndre Jordan puts it in. Coach the Summer League team.
Becky's an excellent coach and a super player. She's a very special player.
Just outside 90 seconds remaining here. Kawhi Leonard with 21 points in 29 minutes. Nice bounce to Gasol and a hard foul by Blake Griffin. 5 on Griffin. Sports Center with Stan Barrett is coming up after we're done here. Highlights from all the games in the NBA as the post All-Star break scheduled in full swing. Also a report from Daytona. NHL scores as well. Stan Barrett coming up. Sports Center at night after we're done here from Staples.
I'm gonna cross the street and see if Barry Melrose is there. Find out, get my NHL fix.
One more free throw for Gasol. 16 points for him back in Los Angeles. Won 2 championships with the Lakers. What do you make of the moves that they made? Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka, now in charge of the team.
Well, I know Jeannie Buss pretty well. Don't know Jim Buss at all, but it just seemed that move was coming for a long time. Listening to the press conference, I think Rob Pelinka will do a very good job. The more you have someone like Magic Johnson back involved, you would think that's good, particularly when he's got a former agent, somebody that knows the ins and outs of trades and cap. Would be a positive situation. To say it, the NBA needs the Knicks and the Lakers to be not just good, to be competitive, to be playing for championships, and they're both about as far away from that as you can be.
I mean, you try to think about it, which team is further away? And the Lakers have a stockpile of young players, but is D'Angelo Russell a franchise point guard? We don't know. Is Julius Randle worthy of the 7th overall pick? Brandon Ingram looks like he's going to be fine. They're very high on him. And then you have the Knicks. They decided not to move Carmelo Anthony. Obviously, they have a great young player in Kristaps
Porzingis is the real deal.
What about the surrounding cast?
They both have their work cut out for them. You're tempted to say LA's a little bit closer, but I agree with you. I'm not sold. I like their young players. I don't know that I love them. And let's be honest, you don't win with young players in this league. Come April, May, and June, the young players aren't playing. We're not watching them. You talk about the future. That's not what happens in the playoffs.
So Chris Paul done for the night, 17 points as Jordan gets the dunk. Also 5 assists for Paul in his first game in more than a month. And again, an incredibly difficult back-to-back to start. And after a week off, you go to Golden State, come back home, have to play the Spurs. And San Antonio going to improve to 5-2 on this rodeo trip. They've got the Lakers on Sunday.
I was just going to say they got a chance to get to 6-2, and math's not real good, but I think that's 75%. Here they go again on the rodeo road trip.
So PJ, you watched the Warriors last night. You watched the Spurs tonight. Can the Spurs hang with Golden State?
I think they can, but there's no question who the better team is. They just have more answers, and they're so balanced. People don't talk about Golden State's defense. Golden State is an excellent defensive team. They get steals, they get block shots. They're top 5 in field goal percentage and 3-point percentage. They're 2 Achilles, if you will. You have 2 heels. Rebounding is not their strength, and they can get a little sloppy. They can turn the ball over. But they still have a lot of time. Believe it or not, they're improving. Steve Kerr is still tweaking the lineup, tweaking the combinations. They're still getting to know each other. They are the clear-cut favorite, in my opinion. But again, San Antonio, you see Pau Gasol back tonight. I like the additions to this team. A lot of new faces, but very positive.
Well, the Warriors have the best record at 48-9. The Spurs, the second best. They're now 44-13. The Clippers fall to 35-23. Chris Paul is back, had a solid night, but his team loses 105-97. Sports Center is up next here with Stan Barrett. For PJ Carlissimo, J.A. Adonde, our entire ESPN crew, I'm Dave Pash. Good night from Los Angeles, where the Clippers fall to the San Antonio Spurs. Kawhi Leonard played in foul trouble for most of the second half. Still finished with 21 points. One of 5 Spurs in double figures. Blake Griffin led the way for the Clippers with 29 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. San Antonio 31 games above 500 after an impressive road win here in LA over the Clips.